Welcome to Trading Lounge and the Australian Report. We'll be looking at the banking sector and also the crude oil sector as well, including BHP. So this is the XXJ, which is the banking sector, or the XFJ, beg your pardon. So it's the whole finance sector. The XXJ is the banking sector, and the XFJ, this one, is the finance sector here. They've basically got the same pattern, and we're looking at basically this. I'm looking at this, just focusing on this structure coming up here, and I want to talk about that a little bit more. So with this particular structure up here, we're looking for, in a nutshell, we're looking for a five-wave structure here. And we, as you can see here, we've got wave 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and we know that wave 4 normally pulls back to the 38.2% retracement level, roughly speaking. So we can see here the 38.2. So we're sitting on that here now. So it's quite possible that that's actually completed here, and then we'll be looking for a little move up here, making a new high here. One of the things that we need to be a little bit mindful of here, this particular structure, well, there's a couple of things here. This could actually terminate here and then move down from that point. Now, we would expect it to move down anyway, because after a five-wave structure, then we would be looking for a three-wave structure. Okay, so we'd be looking for a three-wave structure back down. Now, the thing is that we have to work out if this is going to be three waves or five waves coming down here, because if it's five waves coming down here, then we've got a larger correction in play, and that correction bear market would simply be this down here is an impulse wave, then an A and a B and a C wave here in five waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a C wave, and then we move lower from this point here. So that's quite possible. I don't know which one of these is going to be here, and it doesn't matter just yet. Our focus mainly is in this structure moving up through here, and most of the banks, if we can just look at Westpac here for a moment, so this move up through here, I am counting it as bullish as 1 and 2 here, and looking up for wave 3 here. But like the banking sector that we just looked at, it's possible that C wave on the banking sector can be the same here as well. So it's possible this can be an A wave, a B wave here, and a C wave up here. So I'll just leave that there as an alternative count for the time being. So as we're tracking along so far with this here, we're counting, and this is pretty much the same for the other banks as well, ANZ and CBA. So we've got wave 1 and 2 here, then wave 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So we're looking for 4. This is also pulled back. It's 38.2% retracement level as well from wave 2 here, roughly speaking, here, roughly in there, so 38.2 in here. So that's pretty much sort of done and dusted there. So we don't want to see a new low occur here. If we see a new low occur off this last low here, then we need to be short from that point. But as far as I can see it so far, we really need to buy new highs now. So I'm looking for a move coming up into the 34 area here at least, because we use trading levels, and trading levels mainly is twofold, but one fold of that is using the Fibonacci price as a price ratio here, so 1, 2, 3, 5 and 8, but with the Fibonacci numbers in sort of geometry here, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144. So this number here does play out rather strongly sometimes. So just to be mindful of that number there. But normally if we get a nice support on 3, then we can pretty much look at 5. And markets travel quite quickly between 5 and 3, going up and down, and also between 5 and 8, going in both directions as well, quicker than it would going through 1, 2 and 3 here. So anyway, this particular structure here is not finished. Okay, so this is going to, if this breaks out through here, it's going to have some sort of impact on the ASX 200, of course. The other thing that's driving the markets, apart from technology stocks, is well, in the US anyway, and that all sort of reflects back into sentiment in one way or another. But this is the weekly oil market here, crude oil here. Now, with this particular market here, it's possible that we've got. I'm just being cautious. I always sort of always work from the cautious side, always bottom up. But basically, we've got an A wave and a B wave, and a C wave down here. But I've drawn this C wave here, not in 5 waves, but as a triangle pattern here. So an A and a B and a C here. So it's possible that we're still in like a much larger correction going sideways with with crude oil here. It's also possible to, so that's why I've drawn it here as an A wave and a B wave and going up for a C wave here. Now, it's also possible that this can be wave 1 here and then wave 2 here, which I'll put in as an alternative count there, but just being conservative at this particular point. But the main point here too is that, as you may notice, we've been moving into energy stocks with Santos, BPT, WPL and so on. So I wanted to get into the US stocks with this, but I've just been a bit slow. They've really moved quickly, and I just couldn't get a nice entry in to manage the risk properly. But what I wanted to point out here, even in there's definitely a trend starting here. And as a classic trading levels pattern, we have the arrival, the reaction, the first high above the level, and the corrective pattern. And then we've got support here. So we will take this high out here, so to speak, even closer than that. But we've been in this for a little while now in terms of stock. But even if it is a corrective move up here, it's still not completed. So we've got, let's just, even in a corrective pattern, normally would find the A wave and C wave has some sort of equality to them. So we can look at this. I mean, this is driving our markets as well, of course. So if we copy that segment and put that there. So we're looking up at this space up here. This is the top of wave 4 of 1 lesser degree, so it's going to be important. And the lower end is the 38.2% retracement level. So yeah, if it is a wave C here, then it's going to move down from the 6,000 area here, but we've still got quite a way to go to get even to that point. The other target area we've got is in this space here up in the 8,000 somewhere. So I don't know what's true, but what we've been doing is just counting the structure from this point here. We know we've got plenty more to go here. So this is also showing up in of course, well, BHPs are quite a wide variety of resources as such, and this is a bit of an odd count in here too. I don't know if I've got this nailed down here correctly, probably wrong, but it doesn't matter anyway, because I know that double tops are not the end of the bull campaign, and this one here is starting to move off here. I was going to get us in on this bar here the other day, but last week, but I didn't want to. I knew it was going to gap, and I didn't want to get caught in the gap here, so I was a little bit slow. I should have been there the day before, but so I didn't get in. But we still might get in here somewhere, but it will have I have to have a wide stop. But the main point here is that this market's still got further to move to the upside here, and we have to look at $30 from this point. So the reason I'm showing all this for is that just showing two big sort of whales in the elephants in the room, so to speak, in that the banking system and the resource system have still got further to go to the upside. So when we're looking at the ASX 200, we also need to, consider that moving up higher as well. So we're looking at 6,000 here. So obviously that's on people's mind. Such the pattern through here has been a little bit tricky. We've nailed most of it down, but some of it we've missed here and there. But and when Elliott's a tricky little sucker to get your head around, and also to work as well. And that's why we use the trading levels as a simple support and resistance method as well to help us there. And in this case here, we obviously be looking at 6,000 for this as well. So this little count up here, because looking at the BHP and looking at the banking system, it's highly likely that we're going to be pushing higher, okay, into this space, and probably even higher still here. In this count here, we've been looking at wave 1 and 2 and 3 here, and we looked at this as an A and a B and a C for wave 4, pulling back to the wave 4 of 1 lesser degree, and also 38.2% retracement level. So we're looking at this here, and I've taken, I always look at the conservative side of things when I'm looking at things. So in the conservative side of things here, I'd look at this as 1 and 2 here, and then 3 here and 4 here, and then 5 coming up here. But I think that's wrong as well here in this case. So I think that we're looking at more of a stronger structure playing out here. So it's okay to have this first section as wave 1 and 2 here, but I think that, and I haven't gone there yet, but we'll probably also need to look at this being a wave 1 and wave 2 of the next smaller degree of structure here as well. And then we're also working through this as well. So this is a tricky little count, and that's why I looked at the banking sector and so on. So if we do see Westpac and ANZ and CBA pushing up higher, and also BHP and so on, and the oil market and the resource market, then we know that we're going to be pushing higher here anyway. So let's just drill in here, first of all, into the hourly chart here. A little bit messy, but while we're here, we're looking at 1 and 2, as I just mentioned, and 3, an A and a B and a C for 4. And as I mentioned, I've got this as wave 1 and 2 here, and then 3 and 4, but I don't think that's even correct at this stage. There is even a count here for this wave 4 to be wave 2 here, and all of this here to be wave, an A wave here, a B wave in through here, because this can count as a B wave, as an A and a B and a C wave in this structure here. And then this can also be counted as corrective, all 5 waves in here. So it's quite possible that this is wave 2 here, and then what would happen then, we would have this as wave 3 over here. So it's a real possibility as well. So as you can see, when I'm unsure, okay, so when I'm unsure, then I revert back to the trading levels. And with the trading levels, we basically, last time we spoke with this here, perhaps on this chart, on the hourly chart anyways, we knew that if this high here was going to be breached, because we could count this as 5 waves as well, so it was quite possible that we could have had a more complex correction coming back down. But taking this high out here, or even better still, finding a tested support on 69.5965 here, part of group 2, then we need to trade long from that point. And the same thing goes here again as well. You can see the price at 5971.9 here, but the more that 5972, the orange line here, becomes a nice tested support, that's when you need to trade long. And you also need to add to a position when the 80 here becomes support. So I think it's better to work this as support and resistance to the upside. Just move into the tick chart, and we'll sort of shoot the breeze on this a little bit in here as well. So as I just mentioned, we'd have to bring wave 1 to this point, wave 2 to this point here is an ABC. But I'm not happy with wave 4 being here because wave 4 here overlaps wave 1 by a lot, and it just doesn't, it's not the right thing. So we've either got this, I've got this in very light here, wave A, wave B in here, and then this little wave C in here, as such in here, this little wave C here. So this could actually be wave 2 here. I don't know that, but what we're also seeing in here as well is that we're seeing 5 wave structures to the upside. So this is still impulsing to the upside. So we are moving up here. There's no doubt about that. I just don't know the best way to counter it. When Elliott wave is clear and everything fits together nicely, we can say with confidence, this is this and that's that, and so on, and we can move forward. When we don't know, we need to have strategies in place and also revert back to basic simple support and resistance. And obviously people use indicators as well, and they're also nice guide sticks as well. Stochastics always work quite well with With Elliott wave, it helps with the turning points, but you need to understand how stochastics are calculated, how they work, because sometimes they can just flatline. They can go up and then they can just sort of flatline across the top there. And the reason that they do that quite simply is if I had stochastics here, for example, then as it's coming up to here, if it was looking at this old high here, then it would just flatline. All of this would be flatlining here while it's moving up. So then you need to take your stochastics to the next degree higher. Whatever you're using, go into a larger space with it, larger numbers, and work with it at that point. But when they do flatline, at the 90s and the 20s and 10s and so on at the lower end, then you need to come up 1 degree. But you can always see it in the price. So this high would be, the indicator would start flatlining at this high, and this high here on a smaller degree would be flatlining at, this one here. So, but they are helpful with those low turning points and into new highs, those sorts of things. They're quite valuable at that point. I mean, I just use the levels because I know the numbers and how the psychology of it a little bit, but they're still handy. So anyway, so with this here, it's the count from here would be wave 1 and 2 here, and then wave 1 and 2 here. It's also possible to have this wave 2 sitting over here, and having this as an A and a B and a C here, but it doesn't really make any difference, because if I had this here and then counted this as 1 and 2 and 5 waves up for 3 here, and then looking at 4 here, and 5, we're still not finished up here. Do you know what I mean? So that doesn't matter either at this point. So I'll just leave it here, and going into this particular space here, I'm just going to drop into 10 ticks here as well, so we can get a better view of that here. So at this count here so far, if we call this wave 4 low here as a corrective wave down here, as from wave 3 as an A wave, a B wave, and then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And I went over this the other day, so it fits reasonably well, as did the other count. It was all about this little bit in this space here. But anyway, here we've got the 5 waves up, coming back here. Then we've also got 5 waves up here, so we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and it fits quite nicely. Here within this 3 is not the longest in this case here, but it is diminishing into a particular point here, so that will be fine. This can count as an A and a B and a C for wave 2 here, and then this is 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, A, B, C here, then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here. So I've got this as wave 4 here. It's a little bit tricky to count this in this space here. I've got, this is the high here, but on the cash market, this is actually a little bit lower here. But I think that it's a truncated 5th wave on the cash market. And the other point here too is that this wave 4 here has really pulled down to the wave 4 of 1 lesser degree here. So it's kind of done its distance in a way. So yeah, after the squeeze on the open here, which takes 15, 16, say 20 minutes, then see which way this dances from here, because the resistance here would be this space here. That's why I mentioned before is looking to add on top of 5980. You could also use group 1 in here, which would be the 3, and also 5 in here to add positions 2 if you felt like that was, if it found support was moving up here. We don't want to see this market move down any lower than what it is here, because then we start to get overlapping wave structures with wave 3 here and wave 1 here as well. So it's not a good look if this drops out of group 2 here, but while this is in group 2, 65, 72 and 80, you have to stay bullish with this. It's only when the 65 becomes the retested resistance that the market is in negative space then and can drop down from that point. Okay, what it's trying to do in group 2 here is it's got support at 65, it's trying to find support on 72, and as soon as you can notice that, then you can move in on that space and then also add on the move up here, but definitely support on 80 will see us up to 6,000. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.